So this is something that's crossed probably every single Muslim's mind, which is, why is everything fun haram? Now here's the thing, a lot of people before this will even start coping and tell themselves that whatever they're doing is not haram. Like for example, they'll say, well, music isn't haram or anime is good for you. And they'll basically do what we call fatwa shopping. But even if you're past that level, you might ask, well, what do you do instead? Because let's be honest, a lot of our time is spent doing things that don't provide anything to our life, like randomly scrolling or watching anime or doing any of these things. So it seems like everything fun is haram, or at least discouraged in Islam. So you might just ask, what do I do? Just sit around being bored all day? And the more I thought about this, the more I realized that people are coming at it the complete wrong way. Because nowadays, people have so much entertainment. I mean, think back to the past. People did not have TikTok or YouTube or anything like that, and they still went by, right? They weren't bored all day. I mean, back in the day, during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, poems were like one of the biggest forms of entertainment. And now if you take a normal person today, a normal person on TikTok or on YouTube who has a fried attention span, and tell them to read a poem, they're going to even find that boring. And if you look at how certain people live, like for example, some Muslims, like good people of knowledge, as well as even non-Muslims, like billionaires, you'll realize that these people are not bored, but they're also not on TikTok, they're not on YouTube. A lot of times, all they do is work, but they find that stimulating, and they find that rewarding. So what I learned is this is really the fundamental problem. It's not that whatever you're doing is boring, it's that your stimulus level is way too high, which basically means your baseline level of entertainment is too high. Because when you're used to TikTok and YouTube and all this very stimulating stuff, going back down to a normal level of work and a normal level of entertainment is hard, and it becomes boring. That's why, for example, if you're addicted to TikTok or addicted to YouTube and you go out doing normal stuff, you find it boring, especially like, for example, work. What if I told you there's literally people in this world that find work fun? Like, they find it as stimulating as you might do when you're on YouTube. So what happens is when you take a break from social media, it's hard at first because your brain is so accustomed to having that stimulus. But let's say after a week or 2 weeks, your brain automatically starts adapting to your new environment and your new level of stimulus, and things actually become normal again. Like you start being entertained by little things and you don't have that TikTok brain. So this is the first thing I'll tell you, which is if you can't find any entertainment, if you find everything boring, look towards your stimulus level. Look how you're treating your brain, because a lot of times you're abusing it just because you're watching way too much entertainment and way too much mindless scrolling. And here's the thing, people talk about having fun, but they also talk about things like anime, scrolling. These things aren't fun. They just give you short-term dopamine. And what happens is your dopamine actually goes down later. And that's why you realize after a binge, you don't feel good, right? After playing 5 hours of video games, you don't feel good. After watching so much anime, you don't feel good. The truth is, these things are entertainment and you feel like they're fun, but really they don't actually bring you fun in your life. They don't bring you enjoyment. They just bring you short-term dopamine. And at the end of the day, they're going to leave you with a void in your heart. It's like you might have heard the idea before that haram things bring up a void in your heart and you can't fill it up with more haram. It's a similar thing with entertainment and short-term dopamine. And of course, not as serious as like a haram thing, but it's in the same idea. So what can you actually do for fun and entertainment and things that are actually enjoyable that will help you in your life? Well, the first thing is that the Prophet ﷺ said in hadith is that our religion is supposed to have enjoyment, right? It's a balanced religion. From what I've seen, the main mistake people make is that enjoying yourself should be done with other people. A lot of times people just seclude themselves. They don't actually enjoy themselves with others. And this comes back to the root problem, which I believe is that people are way too lonely nowadays. And people try to replace that loneliness with mindless entertainment. But that's never going to fill that. And what you'll see is most entertainment nowadays is completely mindless. So instead of just engaging in that, engage in things with other people. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ did. For example, he used to race with his wife, Aisha radiallahu anha. And not only that, but he also used to joke around with his companions. So instead of just mindlessly scrolling by yourself, the best way to actually have fun and have enjoyment in your life is by spending time with others. Is by doing things like playing sports with other people. And of course, I could give you a list of a bunch of things you can do, but honestly, you could think of them yourself. Like, the main problem is that you're spending all of your time doing things that are not good for you, like mindlessly scrolling, mindlessly watching anime and playing video games. And here's another problem I see a lot, which is you probably need more ambition. Because I want you to just think for a moment. Imagine your dream life, the best life you can think of, where you achieve everything you wanted. That would probably be more entertaining than the life you have now. You probably have more enjoyment, right? So when you have that goal to achieve that really enjoyable dream life, you'll realize that progressing towards this goal actually is enjoyable. It's actually entertaining for you. And the best part is it'll make you feel fulfilled. Like after you finish work, you'll actually feel good about yourself. Unlike after a binge of doing whatever else, you'll actually feel bad. And when you're at this point where you actually have high ambitions and you're working towards something that you actually care about, you won't need any mindless dopamine or any mindless scrolling because your work will actually be fun. And the last thing I want to remind you with is just imagine yourself on the day of judgment. One of the biggest regrets you're going to have is wasting your time. Wasting your time is going to lead to your scales being smaller because you're not spending your time reading Quran or doing anything important. So you're putting a major importance on enjoyment, but really this life is not about enjoyment. The main purpose of this life is not about having fun or being entertained, but it's rather about actually worshiping Allah. And who even said that you had to have fun in this life? Like, no one actually said that, right? No one in the Quran does say that this life is supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be enjoyable. This is just a misconception that we have because we want it. So I want you to switch your mindset. Not everything has to be seen through the lens of, is this fun? Is this enjoyable? But do what you have to do, not what you want to do. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. Don't forget to start making dua. Check out Clean Islamic Sharia in the description. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.